Hello. So today's talk is that you are already awakened and that it can be proved. Before we start though, I would just like to say that the awakened means so many different things for different people, and so the way in which we're going to use the word awaken today is more from the sense of a recognition that is not only by the mind but partly by the mind. So you can have all different types of awakenings. You can have awakenings where it's energetical. You can have the everything awakening where you realize, but not intellectually but energetically, where you go into everything and it's like the love awakening. You can have the emptiness awakening where you go back and back and back and disappear into absolutely nothingness. And then you can have this awakening where it's sort of by the mind and sort of not. So you're beginning to really get close to who you are. It's really beginning to open up. There is, you're beginning to touch on the nothingness of who you are, but it's still by the mind that recognizes it. But that is really phenomenal. That is a huge thing, and I would definitely call that an awakening. So the way in which this is provable is by examining experience. So examining what your experience is. So in this experience now, is there perception happening? Is there something which is perceiving? In order for there to be experience, there has to be something that's perceiving. There has to be a fundamental quality of consciousness in order for this to happen. There has to be something, we're saying thing, but then we can break that down, but there has to be something which is apparently experiencing. And that is the key. The person is always looking in thought and imagination. So even when I say that, it's still looking normally at it from a place of imagination. You're imagining yourself as conscious, or you're imagining God as conscious, or you're imagining something as conscious. And that is not the truth. That's not what we're talking about. However, you can start there by imagining yourself or something as conscious, a thing, a position as conscious. But what we're trying to point to is direct experience, that in this experience there is perception, there is consciousness that's happening. And in that, there is a play of thoughts, of feelings, of ideas, of colours, of the world, of things, of places, of people, of names. And that play isn't who you are. In one way you could say it is who you are, because everything is you, but it's not who you are, as in you are not somebody that's found in that. You are not a thing that is found in that. But in the experience, perception is always happening. You can never not have perception. You can never not have consciousness. There's always consciousness, no matter what. always consciousness. You cannot escape it. In the morning when you wake up, you think that you wake up, and you name it as I woke up in the morning, whereas actually there was consciousness even in deep sleep, but what actually woke up in the morning was the dream of you, was the illusion of you. And this dream of you then has an idea about its life, what it's going to get through time, what it's going to do, that it's going to awaken. But that person never awakens. That person is a daydream happening. What's seemingly awakening and what is provable is that which is beyond the person, that which is in every experience, this consciousness. Do you ever have an experience without consciousness? Consciousness is the fundamental in every experience, awake presence. You cannot run away from it, you cannot fly to the moon and get away from consciousness. You cannot switch consciousness off, but yet the person can come and go, and the person's suffering can come and go. So this is what's already awakened. This is what's in you that is awake. This conscious perception, that is. And that never falls asleep. What falls asleep is the person. So most people are trying to fix the person, are trying to awaken the person and get somewhere in the personal world. But that person is always a dream happening. So what is it that's here, free, now, in the experience, that's not coming and going, that's not dreaming? And there can be this recognition where it's sort of by the mind, but it's also you're falling more and more back into what you are. So there's also something else which is awakening as it begins to be recognized. But this is fundamental and huge to recognize this, that there is an awake presence all the time that never leaves. What comes and goes is you. And this awake presence never dies. It can never be killed, it can never be murdered, it can never be hurt by somebody's words, and it's what looks out through all objects. The character is not alive, the character is not experiencing. So when you talk to me or when you talk to someone else, you're imagining somebody actually there, but what you're actually talking to is this pure consciousness. So you're talking to yourself, consciousness is talking to consciousness. And this is the freedom. It's the waking up. And then there's apparent different stages to this waking up, where you you awaken to the nothingness, and then you awaken to the fullness. And the fullness is energetical. The nothingness is energetical too, but the fullness is really energetical, where you expand back into everything. But this is one of the first awakenings. Or maybe you can't even say first, but this is a fundamental awakening, where you are already awake. Who's actually perceiving these words is consciousness. The character, the body-mind, is an interpreter of sounds, interpreter of sights. It's not actually experiencing. It's a video recorder or a microphone. It's not the one actually listening. So what you are is so close to you. The freedom that you look for, that you're seeking for, is so close to you. It's in the looking. It's in perception. It's in this. And you've never escaped it. So there's been the dream of suffering. There's been the dream of losing it. But you've never lost it. It's always here. It's right here in experiencing. God is in the last place that you'd ever think of, in the experiencing. Isn't that crazy? The person and humanity are always looking in objects, in time and in imagination. Whereas what's being pointed to is beyond imagination. Imagination appears and disappears in it. This is total freedom. This is all that's wanted. So are you awake? Yes. Have you always been awake? Yes. Is there always awakeness? Yes. Is there always freedom? Yes. The illusion, though, is the attachment and the belief that you are an imagination in time, an imagination of a body, an imagination of somebody moving in time. That's not who you are. This is so free, it almost feels unbearable, because it's so free, but only free here, not free in daydream, right here, right now. Nisargadatta says, when consciousness meets beingness, so when the personal awareness stops daydreaming and stops being attached to the person in time and comes back to beingness, comes back to the I am, comes back to presence, then this is when Ananda happens, bliss happens. When you truly meet yourself, it's like the two opposites, the feminine and the masculine meet. And then here we are in bliss, together as one. Yeah, nice. Yeah, if anyone has any questions or anything they would like to ask, they're super welcome to. It's also super beautiful to sit here in silence with you all. Yeah, you can put your hand up if you have any questions. But just notice in the body-mind any tension that's held because of ideas, any tension that's held because of you moving through time, you having to arrive, and then see if you can sink into something deeper in experience. those thoughts, those ideas aren't you. And then find the stillness which is here, right here, in this. Right here in the looking and the sense of existence. It's so still and empty. Yeah, Aruna, you can unmute yourself. Just so you know though, Aruna, that it is going on YouTube, this. So, yeah, only ask if you're okay with it going on YouTube.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, not your video,
I don't
just
know
your audio.
Oh, have you, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You can hear me. I don't know how to get the video on.
That's okay.
Okay, I'll just leave me.
Yeah,
Okay.
you could just see if yourself blank, but your video wouldn't be put on YouTube, just your audio.
Okay. Yeah, so my question is, I think I put it on the Telegram group as well, but I read a book years ago by, I don't know if you heard of Anthony de Mello. He's a Catholic priest who taught, he was a psychotherapist, and he wrote a really good book called Awareness.
Yeah.
About waking up. And I read that, and it was really good, and I really learned from it. It really helped me in my workplace. But then when I got into close relationships, all of it just went out the window. I couldn't do any of it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I felt like I could do it when I was on my own. I don't know. I felt like my identity kind of. I suppose it's that thing. I've always had this thing that people are taking me away from myself.
Yeah. And that's not true, because
it's not true, is it?
No, you can never be taken away from yourself, because you are yourself. So you are the looking. So the looking and the sense of being never moves. It's perceiving, and it's always still. So it can never actually move. It's always free. But what does move is the person. And so the person comes back when in relationship because of fear or wanting love. Those are the two primary identifications, trying to get to love and trying to avoid fear. So when you are by yourself, the person sort of begins to disappear, and then there is a resting in the empty looking and a resting in beingness. But but when a person comes in front of you, then the seeking energy of the person reforms, and then the person feels like it has to be something or avoid something. And these, when you take them down to their essence, they normally are love, trying to get love, or trying to avoid fear, which are really similar. So you're trying to get to love or trying to avoid fear. And
that makes sense. Yeah.
Those create all types of dances. So you'll be in front of the mother, for example, and there might be a strong dynamic where, I don't know, you're guilty or something as the daughter. And so when you're in front of her, this energy comes up of seeking to try not to be guilty, to try to be a good daughter, to try to please the mother. And the guilt comes from fear. The guilt is, if I don't please the mother, ultimately I will die or she will abandon me. But this can then create action, seeking dynamics to try to be the perfect daughter. Whereas it's an impossibility. You can never satisfy other people's illusions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So this is, so it's not, it's not that somebody's taking you away. It's somebody that somebody's coming back, because awareness or consciousness can't move. It can't be taken away. they're right here. Consciousness is perceiving and beingness is being. So what moves then is the dream and the illusion. And then there is a lostness. So then there's a cutting off from who you truly are as there's still presence. And then there's a lostness in time. These habits can also be without seeking. So if you can also have funny dynamics with the parents and there not be seeking there. So it's all dependent on whether there's seeking there. So whether there is the belief that freedom, so the I am, the beingness and the empty looking, will be found in completing that dynamic. So you can be without seeking, but there can be a momentum to try to please the mother because of conditioning, because that's the way you've always related to the mother. So that's a habit. So that's what Nisargadatta would call habits and, I've forgotten what he uses. Yeah, habits and conditions.
Patterns.
Yeah, patterns.
Yeah.
But then the seeking energy, so those would just come up and disappear in emptiness. The seeking energy is that they are my freedom, and that's like not a conscious thing, it's an energy which makes it feel so important. It's like you're going to die if you don't satisfy the mother, or if you don't satisfy the brother, or like it's like so strong, and then it
feels very
mentality.
Feels very visceral, very like the sky's going to fall in, like a total disaster. So
it's like
definitely felt that. But then a psychologist would say, but it's you that's letting them take you away from yourself, and then I end up blaming myself, and then all the guilt comes. It's all this kind of
and
it's all my fault all the time.
It's seemingly the way, but it's not the way. So we can name it that way, so you are letting, but who would be that you? It's actually a dynamic that's appearing. And then, this is the problem with all types of therapies and all types of self-improvement stuff, is that then they can be used to fit into your dynamic. So it's another reason why you're bad. It's more proof that you're bad, which is absolute lie, because there's nobody there. It's a dynamic.
There. Because I've had people, because I do massage and reflexology, I've had a few colleagues say, you're blocking your healing and that, all this, and then I think, oh my goodness, am I in panic?
It's your fault.
It's your fault.
But it's helpful to say these things to unlock our ideas. So but it's like wisdom. So when you're a therapist or when you're working with people, it's wisdom as to when to use these words. Because to say that you are blocking it, what it's trying to point out is that there's a dynamic that is arising there that is appearing, but it's really impersonal. And through that understanding, then there can be a self-investigation. But the mind can also take it to beat itself up more. So it's like you always have to be really careful how you present these things.
Yes, I realise that. That it's like it's all a mirror. I'm realising that about myself now, that I think, this person said that, that person said that. But then I think, well, what did they really mean? And is it some of it? How is it landing with me?
Totally. How's it landing?
How's it landing with me?
And it's not necessarily true.
No, exactly. But that's really useful. So it's just the character coming back in when I'm in a relationship and seeking, despite knowing all that stuff. I'm thinking, I kind of read that book and thought, oh wow, this is amazing. But then I've still got all this stuff going on from decades, I suppose, patterns and things.
And if we believe in previous lives, and maybe like not just decades but centuries, we don't know if
centuries
previous lives.
Yeah,
I suspect there are.
I do wonder. Oh, okay then.
So it's a strong momentum. But the good news is that you are already awake. So who you are, so what is perceiving me now is actually the consciousness. And that's who's interacting now, actually, not the person. It's just the energy is in the personal world and in the story. It's most probably dropping away as well. But when it's in the story, then it feels like somebody is interacting. But are you are you awake right now? And what I mean by that is there perception happening?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the way home. I mean, that's phenomenal. The fact that you have woken up to that and recognized that is a phenomenal awakening, that there is perception happening. And that's the way home. I mean, I'm pointing inwards, and inwards isn't really the truth because it's everywhere. But it's like seemingly inwards. You keep going back and back and back to that which is awake right now. Who is that?
Yeah.
And the more that you go back to it, it's like you get eaten alive, you know, like Pac-Man, you know how they go, I don't know if you've ever seen Pac-Man, they go along and, and then when they touch a ghost, they eat themselves, they kind of go back on themselves. It's like you go back into yourself and then you disappear. Like, who is awake now? Who is awake right here? It's so beautiful. And then you begin to see everyone else like that. So your mother stops being your mother. Your father stops being your father, your brother stops being your brother, your children stop being your children, and all you're seeing everywhere is awake presence. There might be habits and conditions that are arising through the body that behave in certain ways, but that isn't even you either. That's just something happening. Who you are is the awake presence.
Yeah. So even this feeling I have sometimes of being swayed by someone's confidence, you know, that's something arising. A pattern. It's not necessarily what's happening.
And that's a very interesting one, being swayed by somebody's confidence, because other people's confidence can be good because it knocks out ideas that you already have in play, but then we put authority onto that, and the authority has to go to consciousness. The authority has to go to the I am always. The security that you're looking for in thought or behavior or action is always what's already here. The awakeness. The awakeness is the answer.
Okay.
Which is your most intimate sense of being. So it's like a celebration. It's like fantastic news. Your most intimate. You've never not had awakeness. You've always had it. So, you know, like maybe I seem confident, but I know there's other speakers that are even more confident in the way they speak. But it's like it's giving it back to you because you've never not had awakeness. We've always had consciousness. We've always had perception, even in deep sleep. What's missing in deep sleep is the memory of us. Us is not doing anything, so there's nothing to remember, but there's still awakeness.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. Okay, thanks. It was lovely to talk to you. Thank you.
And you, thank you.
But I need to disconnect the audio.
I can mute you. It's okay.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, thanks, Irina. Yeah, nice. I can take one more question if anyone feels to. This is being recorded for YouTube. It's not live on YouTube now, but it's being recorded, so your audio will go on YouTube. Yeah, Peter. Well, this will be the last one I have to then go. Hey.
I'll try and be. Hi, how are you? I'll try and be quick.
You don't have to be quick, but we'll just stop after this.
Yeah, I loved what you said about the Pac-Man thing. I think last time we spoke, I'm going to tell the story, and last time we spoke I had a big energetic shift, and a lot of contraction left me, and I felt really open since then. And as you were speaking, I was thinking of that, the self. It feels like all of these contractions are dissolution of the self, dissolving of different parts of the self, and the awareness is the truth and the self is the illusion. I've been reading some non-duality books that's been talking about that, and all of these different shifts are just different parts of the self dissolving. And so then there's more and more. It's like a piece of paper being burned with a match or something, and there's more and more awareness as more of the self dissolves. So that's what it feels like to me anyway.
Yeah, totally.
And I guess that's putting a story on it, and it's also kind of mysterious, so I can't really box in, these weird energetic shifts happen every once in a while, and it slightly opens up more and more. And I'm like, is this it now? we arrived, or is there going to be another one? I just don't know. But yeah, it's just so strange and unfathomable. Like, you can't put it in a box. Although the mind is always trying to put it in a box, like always being like, yes, this means this and that means that. And yeah. But yeah,
and I think that's
weird.
it's really wise what you say. So you have like an outline, a sketch of what's seemingly happening, but then there's also this openness that I also don't know. So you have this sketch that there's more, as more and more of you fall away, then there's more going back into awareness. So there's more spaciousness, and it's a relief as more stuff, more seeking and more attachments fall away, because what you are is total spaciousness. So yeah, that is a relief. And you can't really decipher when it ends, when you get to this point, because that all becomes part of the box. But it's wise to have a light sketch of what's seemingly happening, but then also to be totally open to, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if more is going to come or not. We are open.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad that I mean, I don't know if it's chicken and egg situation, like whether this would be happening to me if I'd never read all of these non-duality books. But I'm so glad that I have these people like you and everyone else that I've speak to who's gone before, and you're not like, you have some kind of map of what's happening, and people can tell you, yes, you're not. I mean, yeah, it's crazy, but you're not crazy or whatever. I don't know. There's some people that can sort of give you some grounding in that,
totally.
what's happening, which is good.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's this, like, having a sketch is really helpful, because I mean, in a way it can't be any different from what it is, so it can only be one way, and that's the way it is. But if we imagined it being different without the sketch, it might be that you wobble off into lots of different directions, and the mind collects other thoughts, but in a way also it can't be any different from what it is. So even saying that is not really a reality, because your story can only be the way that it appears.
Yeah.
But this is all these things, it's really great to have these people that came to before, and then also this openness to knowing that nothing is necessary. So there's no fixed box in which anybody can rest. There's no, this is it. There's no ideas that are believed to be our truth in any way. That's really beautiful, and I'm so happy what you report, Peter. So nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I think I have to go now. I'm doing talks in the UK, and I'll have to go and drive. So yeah, I'm sorry, Luhan. I think I have to end now. I would kind of enjoy to go on. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Yeah, it's really lovely spending this time with you.